Hi, welcome to Globetrotterzz. This is Rupa, and I am here with a special person. I am like two special people. And this time we have Angel and Jin with us, who are going to take us through a lot about Korea. And Jin is an American Korean, so you can hear about other cultures as well. Welcome, Jin.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we are glad to have you here. Hi, Angel.
Oh, hello everybody.
Welcome to the Globetrotters, both of you.
Okay. So, without any
Further
further
delay, Jin, let's go ahead and have your introduction. I mean, where are you from? What do you do? And your hobbies and all that.
Absolutely. Where to begin? Um, so I was mostly born and raised in America. I did live in Korea when I was a kid for about 2 years, so like third and fourth grade, but most of my life, I've grown up here in San Francisco, in California. So um, it's been interesting. I grew up in a majority white neighborhood, and so, you know, maybe I think I graduated with something like 400 kids in my class, and I think there were about maybe six Asian kids in total.
that's
So
huge.
yeah, definitely grew up very kind of separated from a lot of other Korean people. But at the same time, my parents are both immigrants from Korea, and so I grew up speaking Korean with my family, and it's always kind of been a really big, like, important part of who I am, right? And so, growing up, I did visit Korea very often and try to go back as much as possible. But as far as myself, I've had a pretty unconventional kind of path in life. I graduated high school, I went to college, and I dropped out because I started dancing, and like I started dancing towards the end of high school, and so um, I just kind of really pursued a lot of that, and so I started dancing and worked a couple of jobs here and there. Started to go back to school, but it didn't really work out, and it's just kind of a lot of my life has just been taking whatever opportunity comes up next and just kind of rolling with it. So um, right now, as I stand, I work like a normal kind of 9 to 5 desk job. I work in the tech industry. I do dance still, so I teach a K-pop class once a week online because of the pandemic and everything. I also dance for the Golden State Warriors, our basketball team. Steph Curry. But I started doing that last year, so it's like the entertainment team. So again, when we were actually in court and we had fans there, we would be dancing on court and stuff like that, like on halftime and then during timeouts and stuff like that. But we still, at this point, just create dance videos and create content and stuff like that. So, you know, I have a normal kind of boring day job, but I still dance whenever I can. And yeah, I'm always just kind of looking out for like what the next step in my life is going to be.
Wonderful. Thank you for the introduction, Jin. And now I have a question. You are from California, like I know. So that means you're a Korean American and you're born and raised in America. Okay, how does it feel to be a Korean American?
It's a big question. um, you know, I think being an Asian American in general, I think there's a very interesting kind of identity crisis that you go through, right? And so, like, at least when I was growing up, K-pop wasn't a thing, right? And so when I was young, like when I would meet people, they would ask me, "Are you Chinese?" And I'd say no. They'd say, "Well, are you Japanese?" No. Then what are you? And that was it. Like that, it's crazy that that was people would always be like that. I don't know anything besides Chinese and Japanese, and so I would have to say like I'm Korean. And even if people knew, they would always ask like, "Are you North Korean or South Korean?" You know what I mean? So like, just it was so interesting to me that people just didn't have that kind of basic understanding, right? And so, um, yeah, there was a lot of feelings of not belonging in a place where like I'm born and raised and I speak the language like everyone else, but like having people ask you like where are you from? Like where are you really from? And I'm like, I'm from California. Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's tough to navigate, I think, when you're young. But the older I've gotten and the more connected the world has been with like the internet and stuff like that now, like it's definitely been easier, I'd say. Um, Korean American, I mean, I'm proud for sure, right? Like I don't hesitate to say that I'm Korean. I am like I speak Korean. Like I talk about my culture and stuff, but yeah, there are certain things I think about being an Asian American that are just tough to navigate, I think, is the only way to describe it. And I think a lot of Asian Americans kind of experience a similar thing, and so we toughen up a little bit, right? We kind of work through whatever that is. But we have our place here, and I think a lot of Asian Americans are proud to be Asian American, and so yeah, it's a good life.
Okay, well, that was your experience, being a Korean American. My next question to you is: have you ever been to South Korea?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's funny. I lived there when I was a kid. My dad or used to work as an architect actually, and so he got a job out in Korea when I was in third grade. So from 2000 or 1999 to 2001 was third and fourth grade for me, and so I lived in Korea. I went to an international school, so we spoke English and everything, and but I did live in Korea then, and ever since then, usually we try to go visit at least once every couple of years. Like if I can go every year, that's awesome. But sometimes it doesn't work out. So yeah, I love Korea so much. I mean, every time I go back, it's just like there's just something about it that I love. And so as I've gotten older, I try to make it a habit to go every year. I realized that it's not going to happen this year. The last time I was in Korea, I think was November of like 2019, something like that. So I need to get back there. I will do it as soon as I can. But yeah, I love Korea. Yeah,
I'm sure it's home away from home and I'm missing it. Okay, so our next question to you is now that you're born and raised in America and you do visit Korea, do you see those cultural differences when you visit Korea?
absolutely. Yeah. Um, it's funny, I if I were given the option, like if someone showed up at my doorstep tomorrow and said, "Hey, I have a job for you. Do you want to go live in Korea?" Like I would pack my bags and go, you know. Um, but I also know that like I am very much an American in terms of just my culture and like the way I'm used to society and stuff like that. And so every time I go back to Korea, like it feels like home. Like I see people that look like me that speak the same language as I do, and there's definitely this level of kind of like I feel like I'm home, right? Uh, but at the same time, like I see certain cultural things that I know that I would have a hard time. I would be very wary of working in an office in Korea, right? Because Korea has such an emphasis on kind of hierarchy and like people that are older than you speak we have different words and different like not a different language but honorifics, right? And so when you're speaking to someone that's older than you versus younger than you use different terms and like this idea where if your boss says you do something you do that, period, right? Versus America, which is very much like you're an individual, and Korea is very much the kind of culture where you have your place in society and kind of like a very specific like I'm above you, I'm below you, and you kind of know your place, right? And so I, as much as I do want to live in Korea, I'm sure that there would be some very difficult kind of cultural things for me to get used to. Um, but overall, yeah, if I could go, I'm out of here.
Sounds pretty similar to India, right, Angel?
Yep, it does. It does. If the senior most person tells the one below like this is not done, and then the one below him will put the pressure more on the ones below them. Yeah, oh, why isn't this done yet? So like the ones on the lowest level, really have a hard time.
Yeah.
So we can understand that when it comes to the work culture and everything.
Hmm.
But how about like the like how we see in like the K dramas, right? In like how similar is that? Like, is it the reality, or is it like because in India also when we talk about like Bollywood, it's all like exaggerated. Everything's kind of like exaggerated and shown, but in reality, it's not that bad or that good. So
Hmm.
how is it like for you? Is it like similar ways? Because a lot of people in India do watch K dramas now, since the Korean wave is going on, and people have this wrong notion in their heads that, oh, Korea would be a good place, and we want to go find a Korean oppa because all these things are being shown on the drama. So how would you speak about that?
No, that's a really good question. So that's kind of one of those things where it's tricky, right? Because I have not myself actually worked in Korea. When I watch Korean dramas and stuff, I think I would say very similar to Bollywood films where it's exaggerated, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think, because I've watched a couple Bollywood films, and first of all, I love how dramatic and just insane some of the stuff gets in Bollywood films. It's just so over the top, but it's so entertaining, right? Um, and I do think that Korean dramas do that a little bit. I think we're like for sure we're creating scenarios that are just so over the top and like get so like kind of twisted and convoluted and dramatic, right? But I think that there is some truth, at least, to like the bullying. I think that's the one that you see in K-dramas a lot, right? Where it's like there's like this Hunbe that's like just has that power complex and they love to like just push people down and like they love that kind of thing and there's definitely a lot of truth to that. Um, but it's again, it's a drama at the end of the day, right? So it's like it's entertainment. There's always going to be a bit of exaggeration to it, but no, I mean, at least from what I understand when I talk to my friends who have either moved from the U.S. to work in Korea, or Korean people that I meet that have moved to America, it's always kind of like, wow, it's so much easier here. Or I have friends that moved to Korea, they're like, man, like there's just so much, there's so many other things that you have to be conscious of when you're navigating through your professional life, right? Like I think here in America, it's kind of like, of course, be respectful. I mean, you have your manager and you have your higher ups, and of course, you're going to be kind of respectful to those people. But like, there's a lot of kind of under, I guess, kind of under the table, like things that are subtext that you have to just be aware of, right? You might offend someone without realizing that you've offended them because you just, like it's just not something you would think about, right? Like, um, this is kind of a different example, but I know in Japan at least, there's this idea that you cannot leave the office until your senior has left the office. So
Oh,
if your manager is still working, even if you're done with your work, like find something to do. You know what I mean? Because like you can't leave until your manager leaves. I don't know if Korea's like that. I don't think Korea's necessarily the same, but um, there's just little kind of unspoken things like that you have to like just constantly be aware of, and I think it's just a lot more stressful for a workplace.
okay. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the situation here as well because just to just to put it this way, we have different kinds of work environments in India. So we have MNCs, the multinational companies, like you said, the tech companies, and there are a few offices where belong to either the government or the private sector and all that. So work culture is a little different. For example, we have the MNCs from different countries. I know I do not want to name them on the video. They follow the US culture. Basically, the ones who who are being outsourced, they follow the US culture and the way they dress to office and all that is a little different. When it comes to again, the government offices or the public sector or the other private sectors, the way they dress and the way they carry out or the offices or the hierarchies again different. So we are like a mixture of all the cultures together.
Yeah,
Right.
because I'm into the education sector. Now I'm a teacher. So like being a teacher, I have to look motherly, whether I'm like there for small kids or like big kids, you still have to look motherly. But if I get into a college, there you have to look smart because everyone's like of younger, young
Gotcha.
adults, right? So you have to be attractive to them. So they are supposed to wear formals. So like we have a different like cultural mix in like the work culture itself.
Mm. I have a question. How big is image in India?
The image, it matters a lot. It matters a lot. Like
Mhm,
as I said, like being a girl, image is everything for a girl.
mhm.
Whereas like if you talk about like the status, power, and everything, like for example, I'm an unmarried woman, so I can wear a black colored bindi. But
Right.
if I'm a married woman, I will be wearing a red colored bindi, right? So everything has to do with like how you're keeping yourself in front of people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Your status, right? Yeah.
Apart from that, even we have different kinds of.
So I think it's the same in Korea or the other Asian countries as well, because there are different systems that people follow. They're grouped as per their clan or caste or whatever that is. So they follow their own traditions. Like Angel is from North, okay, northern part of India. So those yeah. So basically, even if she's a South Indian, she's born and raised in the northern part of it, and she's more familiar with it. Like the same, you being a Korean American and Angel being a South Indian raised in northern part of the country. It's different. Okay, so the clan or the caste or the groups are different and they have their own cultures. Like we had a discussion prior, like you said, India is a state of 29. India is a country of 29 states and 300 languages. So, and I'm not pretty sure how many cultures exist. So it's that huge.
Interesting to me that being someone from Korea that's born in America is a similar experience for Angel, who's technically in the same country, but it's that big of a cultural difference between North and South India, right? Like,
Exactly.
I think that's kind of one of the biggest things that's such is so interesting to me because yeah, like I admit like I'm not that educated on Indian culture and the difference. I know that of course it's a huge country with so many people in different cultures, but like to think about someone who's born in San Francisco versus New York, right? Like we're
Mhm.
Americans, we speak the same language, same culture. And there's like the differences maybe in like slang that we use, but end of the day, we understand life the same, right? So like the notion that you could be born within the same country but still have a totally different kind of
Mhm.
and experience is such. I think it's cool.
There's
There's a lot to explore, Jen. There is a lot to explore in India. And while we are at it, so my next question to you is now that the world focus is shifting towards Korea, thanks to the K dramas and K pop and all the Hallyu, what do you call it? Hallyu, yes, BTS, mainly BTS or the other K-pop groups. What's your opinion on it? How do you feel about the world focus shifting on a country that you belong to?
Surreal. You know, it's like I was saying before, right? When I was growing up, that like the ultimate irony is that during the Korean War, right? So like after Japan occupied Korea and towards the end of World War II, there was the Korean War, right? And America fought in the Korean War, and they were a huge part of it. So it was always so interesting to me growing up that like people don't know what Korea is. Right? I'm like, like literally like some of the kids that I met, like I'm like, literally some of your grandparents probably fought in the war, you know what I mean? And so it's just there was actually a really there was an old American TV show called MASH, that like took place. It was a comedy show, but it was about American soldiers in Korea, and so like it was so interesting to me that like growing up in the 90s as an American kid that like the kids around me had zero education about Korea, right? Fast forward 10 years and all of a sudden it's like
boom.
everyone, oppa, this and that, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and like, it like, it's so weird, you know. I think it's great. I think it's amazing because yeah, of course it's my country and like I'm so proud to be Korean and so like, but it still blows my mind when I meet people that like know such an expansive amount of Korean just from watching dramas and K-pop and stuff and like, um, admittedly on the other side of things, like with dating, like it hit this weird point where like all of a sudden people would be like, you know, like and I tell people I'm Korean, they'd be like, oh, you're Korean? You know, just this idea that like people are so aware of our culture now and learning about our history and you know people are so kind of like people want to go visit Korea, right? And they want to see the things and like wear the hanbok and stuff. Like I think I love it. I think it's so cool, you know, and I think honestly this is ideal thinking, but like every culture should have this kind of excitement, right? Like I think everyone would benefit from learning so much about other cultures, and so it's great to see Korea shining right now. Um, but my hope is that like people start to like have appreciation for every other culture, right? Like it just blows my mind that someone can listen to Korean K-pop like a language that they don't understand at all, and just be in their car and just be like jamming out to it, like this is their favorite music and stuff, and like you know, it never ceases to amaze me, but I think it's so cool. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. I've so loved today's session. And like we spent so much time together, but still we like I feel there's a lot to talk and a lot to exchange. I'm so thankful that Jin has actually taken out that time to learn about our culture and the similarities, and he's also explored Bollywood, Tollywood, and the Tamil songs, and also went head over heels for Rajakumari. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see Jin on Globetrotterzz very often now. Jin, me and Angel, we are going to keep bugging you for more and more info, and we are looking forward to your dance videos as well. And in between, so for sure, before going, since you said you are a dancer, let's go ahead and watch one of your dance videos as well. And if you would like to follow Jin on Insta, Jin, please give them your Insta ID so that they can, follow him. And Jin Oppa.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be so embarrassed, but yeah, follow me. You know, it's all just a bunch of my silly dance things, but
Alright, so I will leave his Insta ID in the description box so that you can go ahead and follow him on Insta and look forward to his dance videos that we have challenged him on. And I'm more excited to put it across to the Indian audience. So, yay!
All right.
I hope you've loved the series with Jen and Angel, and I am sure to pull back Jen to Globetrotters very soon. And Angel, of course, she's always been with us. So keep watching Globetrotters, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so that we can, bring out much more amazing content. And until then, take care, stay safe. Bye bye.